Say goodbye to Moscow. They have just suddenly plummeted by a third on the Moscow exchange. The shockwaves from this crash are not just financial, they are political, they are military, and they are shaking the very ground under Vladimir Putin's feet. For years, Putin built his strength on energy dominance. Oil and natural gas were not just items, they were weapons. Europe depended on them, Russia thrived on them, and the Kremlin used them to finance everything from military invasions to domestic control. But in a surprising turn, the once strong gas giant is now struggling. And here's the twist. Even China, Russia's so-called lifeline, is quietly backing away. How did the country fall this hard? Why are workers angry? Europe relieved, and China is using Russia's weakness for its own gain. And most of all, what happens when the core of Russia's war economy finally cracks? Since the war in Ukraine began, Russia's economy has been hit from all sides. Sanctions cut it off from Western markets, technology, and money. The Kremlin tried every trick in the book, but they're still struggling. Small ships trying to move oil at night, private companies sneaking gas abroad, backroom deals with non-Western partners. For a while it worked. Oil still moved, gas pipelines still pumped, money kept coming in, but then the shock hit Gazprom. The biggest state energy exporter started falling apart. European contracts, once the golden goose, are now canceled. Workers lost jobs, factories that needed steady fuel shut down, and when energy slowed, the army felt it too. Ammunition ran low, fuel shortages spread, logistics failed, the war machine already stressed fell deeper into trouble, but Gazprom didn't fall alone. Ukraine kept hitting oil refineries and gas sites with drones and missiles. In just a few months, several plants burned, cutting output. Almost a fifth of refining stopped at times. The result, gas shortages inside Russia, rationing at stations, even temporary closures abroad, shipments stopped, exports froze, and billions of dollars vanished. Workers began losing their jobs, and factories that depended on steady fuel were forced to shut down. As energy supplies slowed, the army started to feel the impact too. Ammunition ran short, fuel became scarce, and transport systems began to break down. The war machine, already under pressure, sank even deeper into trouble. But Gazprom didn't collapse on its own. Ukraine kept striking oil refineries and gas sites with drones and missiles. Within just a few months, several plants were left burning, cutting production badly. At times, almost one-fifth of refining came to a stop. The result was gas shortages across Russia, rationing at stations, and even temporary shutdowns abroad. Shipments were halted, exports froze, and billions of dollars disappeared. This is not just a money problem, it's a war budget killer. Every ruble lost at Gazprom is a ruble missing from Putin's war chest. Look at Europe in 2021. Russia gave nearly 40% of Europe's gas, but by 2024 that dropped under 20%, with some months at zero. The final blow came in 2025. The last big pipeline through Ukraine was shut down for good. Europe replaced Russian energy with Norway Global LNG, North African pipelines, and strict demand rules. Storage, once risky, is now stable. Brussels has made it clear Russian gas is gone. Even LNG by sea is blocked. Moscow's dream of old dominance is finished. Gazprom's model built on Europe's need has tarnished. But what about Putin's backup plan? He gambled on China with Europe gone. The Kremlin declared Beijing the new buyer, expecting Xi to save them. But she saw weakness and used it. Russia's gas flows to China through the power of Siberia. One pipeline hit 31 billion cubic meters in 2024 with a goal of 38, but Europe once bought 150 billion cubic meters. The scale is no match. Moscow pushed for the power of Siberia. Two pipelines promising over 50 billion cubic meters each year. A lifeline on paper, but the deal is still empty. No final investment, no price formula, no financing. Banks won't fund it without a fixed price. China knows it has the power. It already buys from Central Asia, global LNG, and in future Canada is on Beijing's side. Russia, desperate for cash, cannot bargain from strength. The Kremlin may ask for higher prices, but China's plan is clear: force cheap contracts and make Russia take the risks. Putin once thought she was a partner, but she is only a tough customer. The numbers show how bad Gazprom's fall is in 2023. It lost 629 billion rubles, one of its worst years. In 2024, it posted 1.2 trillion rubles profit, but no dividends were paid. Costs are soaring, insurance, freight interest subsidies, reserves are weak. Managers refuse to pay shareholders, fearing collapse. This angered investors and hit the state budget hard. Remember, oil and gas make a third of Russia's income, while defense and security take over 40% of spending. The math is brutal. If energy fails, war funding fails too. Ukraine's drones keep making it worse. One strike that shut 800,000 barrels a day for a week cost over $420 million in lost money. The bigger danger is not markets, but people. Gazprom hires almost 500,000 workers directly and indirectly for years. These jobs were steady, well-paid, and central to towns. Now layoffs are coming. A 2 to 3% cut means 15,000 jobs gone. A 5% cut means 25,000 gone, and if any worse, up to 40,000 gone. This is not just numbers, it's the lives of families who work in these towns. Russian workers, once loyal, now question why they sacrifice their wallets. So where does this leave Putin? Europe is lost and China sets the terms. Power of Siberia, too, is stalled, unfunded, and under threat. Local markets squeezed, exports earn less. Each ton workers grow restless. This is not sudden bankruptcy. Gazprom won't vanish overnight, but it is bleeding slowly. And since Gazprom is tied to the war economy, the Kremlin bleeds with it. The powerful energy weapon Putin once used to scare Europe has now turned on him. Experts say there are 3 possible outcomes for the year ahead. The first is a late deal with China that funds the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. Construction would start, money would begin to flow, but profits would stay small and no dividends would be paid. The second is that China forces Russia to sell gas at very low prices. Sales would rise, but profits would drop, debt would grow, and more jobs or assets would be cut. The third is a flashy deal that looks good on camera but hides big discounts. Basically the same as the second one. No matter which way it goes, one thing is clear: Russia no longer controls its own energy future. It survives only on the terms others decide. Terms that offer no help, only slow suffocation. Ukraine knows this and keeps pushing harder. Every refinery fire and pipeline explosion doesn't just stop gas, it also weakens Russia's ability to fight. There are fewer tanks, fewer shells, and weaker air defenses. The war economy is tied directly to energy, and as Gazprom collapses, the Kremlin loses its grip. The question now isn't whether Gazprom will survive, but how long Putin can hold on as the foundation of his power falls apart. Europe is gone, China is ruthless, and Russian workers are angry. The war is draining more than the country can give. For the first time in decades, the Kremlin's greatest weapon, its energy power, has become its biggest weakness. And even she can't save it.